weird random rogue injuries from barbecue and other things.
This year, I'm telling you, I don't know that I've seen a year where we've had so many kitchen-related injuries.
Welcome to Sass and Slapshots, a podcast for women who love hockey by women who love hockey. We're here to give listeners weekly news, game analysis, and cultural hockey conversations from the perspective of two women who found hockey later in life. There's no shame in our game, from veteran fans to rookies just discovering hockey. Everyone is welcome to learn more and encouraged to become obsessed with the best sport on the planet. Let's dive like Ben into today's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sass and Slapshots. We are so happy that you have joined us on your Monday. The time of this recording is Wednesday, December 10th. So if you hear anything that isn't accurate, it was accurate at the time of this recording.
As of the 10th.
As of the 10th. So Sarah, why don't you go through our top 5 in the NHL right now and our top 3 in the PWHL just to kick us off. I think that we're going to try to do this every episode.
Absolutely. So as of this morning, so I put these up this morning, Colorado remains in the first in the league.
Whoop, whoop.
Dallas is creeping up on us, though. We are now only 2 points ahead. I think we have they have a game in hand, though. So I think we're 1 game behind them. The Capitals come in third. Anaheim is in fourth, and the Hurricanes are in fifth in the league. So fun teams coming up, and some non-surprising ones. So that's
right.
Right.
The Ducks are still holding on.
Yeah. You expect kind of Dallas, Colorado Hurricanes, but then to have the Capitals and Anaheim up there is pretty cool.
Yeah, love it.
So on PWHL, we have in the lead Boston Fleet. They are so fun to watch. The Victoire comes in second, and the Scepters are in third. So
yeah, I have been watching as much PWHL as the Colorado schedule will allow.
Right.
Yeah. God, the Boston Fleet are so fun to watch. I mean,
so fun to watch.
Frankel, actually, just across the PWHL, the goalies are in freaking sane.
They really are. Some of these saves I've been seeing, like highlight reels, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I mean, like Smash, Debian, Frankel. I think Schroeder is if I'm not mistaken, a goaltender. But wow. Just so fun to watch. We also have the rivalry series, which is women's hockey, Canada versus USA. It's kind of like the Olympic preseason, to be honest. The first couple of games, Canada was awful. It was really, really sad. And it was like before the PWHL season debut. And they were using lineups that they wouldn't normally use. But on the USA side, Taylor Heisey and I think her name was Abby or Gabby. I cannot remember to save my life. But those two, holy shit, they cleaned up. And I believe that the Abby/Gabby player is still in university. So the USA players were kind of using college players to fill out their lineup. But anyway, that is resuming. That is happening. Well, at the time of this recording, it's happening tonight. But
so I just read that it enters its 6th season, and I didn't even know about it. So I'm really excited to watch because that's cool. I didn't know about it, and I didn't know that they were using university players. So
yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's Canada versus USA is always great,
right?
But it is kind of like a peek into what the Olympics are going to look like. And I think that now that all of the players have had time on the ice, I think it'll look a lot different. So yeah, definitely check that out. It'll be a super fun prelude to the Olympic Games, which are approximately 58 days away. But with that, we're into the season. We're in it now. And of course, we have some injury reports, some from hockey, some not from hockey. It's very interesting. What do we got?
So injury report is Hellebuck is still out, but we do have a reporting of him being on ice and skating, just not in practice.
Right.
So that's good news for the Jets. Sagan is out indefinitely. Some say season, but I've seen some say possibly coming back late season. So no confirmed either way. So, but indefinitely right now with an ACL injury. So
ACL injuries are so hardcore. Ugh.
Yeah. Some people immediately were like out for the season, but then there are a couple people like he might make it towards the end. And I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. You never know with injuries. You can have setbacks.
Right.
Anything can happen. So as of right now, Sagan is out for a while with an ACL injury.
Yeah, that sucks.
Malkin, that was big news as of I think yesterday. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but Malkin is out with an upper body injury for the Penguins.
Ooh.
So that was reported, and so yeah, interesting one.
We will talk about the game that happened last night between the first game of the Preds versus Avalanche, I guess not series, but matchups that this season. They have one today, or they had one yesterday, and then they have one on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, and that's the only 2 times they're seeing each other this season, right? And that game was a game. We have a lot to talk about on that one, but. Did you hear anything about Wedgie's injury? Is he good?
So far, I have not seen an injury report. So good news.
That's good news.
I think him automatically like taking the next penalty shot, or not penalty shot, I'm sorry, the shootout shot, kind of gave me okay, he was just kind of that startled moment of what happened, because that never happens in a shootout generally.
No. Yeah, no.
You don't see players just ramming into the goalie.
Right.
So.
And I will say, when it happened, I was going to somehow teleport to that arena and kick Forsberg's ass, but I kind of momentarily forgot that they were teammates like pretty recently, and Forsberg was like, oh my god, like, yeah, he was very concerned.
When I was watching it, he was like leaning over Wedgwood like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
Like
they're
seriously concerned. Yeah, so I was trying to give him some grace on that, because he didn't just skate off.
It wasn't intentional in any way.
He stayed with Wedgie and made sure he was okay. So I have to give him some grace.
And what about the weird random rogue injuries from barbecue and other things?
This year, I'm telling you, I don't know that I've seen a year where we've had so many kitchen related injuries.
What is happening, friends?
And I'm almost over here like, you have millions of dollars, like maybe have someone else do that for you, meal prep for you.
I don't know, man. If you can't handle it, it's okay. Like
having some issues, okay?
Yeah.
And I think one was like eating out.
I don't know. These boys, they're dangerous.
Are you okay?
On ice, off ice, in restaurants, you never know. Okay, so I'm kind of surprised that the injury report isn't a mile long, because it seemed for a minute there that there were so many people just gone.
I have to update the one for this Friday, but last Friday's, I was surprised with the length of it, just because some of them I was just like, wait a second, you're out. But now I'm pretty sure McAvoy is coming back. The one with the jaw, had the jaw injury. I'm pretty sure he's coming back, because I saw a lot of people excited. So maybe he's back. But there's been a couple injury report guys that are now coming back on the ice and playing and on the lines and ready to go. So I'll be updating our injury report for Friday's The Post on our Substack.
Yeah, tell the listeners what The Post is about.
So The Post is our newsletter, and it has news from the PWHL, NHL. It has upcoming game schedules, player profiles. It also has the injury report and book recommendations. It has a lot of stuff. So I think this week we're kind of going into some stuff that happened with PWHL Situation Room, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like what happened, not necessarily.
Not that it's cool. Yeah.
Not that it's cool, but like reading about stuff that maybe kind of flies past under the radar. So, and then the Winter Classic, because that's coming up next month. So
we have so much good hockey. We have the Winter Classic. We have the Olympics, the PWHL and NHL seasons just continuing. So it's going to be awesome. Yeah. And our post, it's called The Post, is available on our Substack, and it is for paid subscribers, $5 a month. You get all access to all the things. Sarah really spearheads the Post. She puts a lot of effort and time into it. So if you are interested in that, just click the link in our show notes.
Yeah, it's been fun, because I did newspaper in high school. So going back to that old, like, okay, I need sources and I need pictures and what's the layout doing and how are we, and that's been an interesting throwback to when I was very young.
Yeah. I think of course, like the first template is the longest. It took us forever, or it took
Yeah.
both of us a long time to like fix it
Yeah.
and just get it just right. But once
Yeah.
you do, it's kind of like plug and play. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we're giving you the latest and the greatest in hockey, trying to just keep you updated. And also in the post is a hockey 101. But we're
Yeah.
gonna do a hockey 101 on the podcast as well. They will be different. I'm sure they'll be recycled, the longer we go, just because that's the way it is. But today we're gonna talk about why coaches pull the goalies in the NHL.
The main reason, and this is one most people probably know, is they pull goalies towards the end of the third period if they're down 1 or 2.
Mhm.
I don't know that I've ever seen like a blowout they pull a goalie because there's really
Yeah.
no reason.
Right.
But if they're down 1 or 2 and it's 2 to 3 minutes left in the game, they'll pull the goalie to try and give a 6-on-5 advantage. And that means they get another attacker. They get another person playing the puck, shooting the puck, trying to get a goal to get the score even. And so they'll pull our goalie or the offensive goalie and try and get an advantage.
Right.
So
yeah, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I've heard so many people be like, why do coaches do this? Like, it seems like such a big risk. And it is a big risk, but to push the game into overtime or to push you to win by 1 point, it's worth the risk. And they assess that on the ice. Yeah, I've seen people be like, where's the goalie? Where's the goalie?
the goalie goal
Yeah.
is just gone.
And actually, it was really funny. Just last night, like, put my head down to share a thread or something, and I looked up and our goalie was gone. I was like, what? And then I realized it was a delayed penalty. So that's another way that goalies leave the ice, is during a delayed penalty, just to give, again, that advantage.
So the team that is going to go on the power play, if they still have the puck, they still have the chance to score, right?
Mhm.
So they can pull the goalie because as soon as the team that's going to be going on to the penalty kill gets the puck, the whistle is blown.
Mhm.
So they can't score a goal. It's kind of a hard thing to describe because it's like, okay, well, if they have the puck, then
Right. It's hard to describe, but like when you see it,
yes, yeah.
I
So if
will.
you're like watching it, you'll see.
Yeah, like you'll understand, and on the screen there's always like a delay penalty like flag.
Yes.
They always,
Yeah.
and as soon as the other team touches the puck, the whistle's blown, the play
The
is
whistle's
dead.
blown. So they can't score. So that's why the goalie goes ahead and takes a break, sits down.
Right.
I
will link in the show notes as well, like a video explaining it better, just because I know we have some visual learners, and I'm definitely a visual learner too. So the more videos I can watch on hockey and like the rules and weird things like that, the better. So we will definitely post a video with that.
Sass and Slapshots is proudly supported by Double Hockey Sticks, the hockey brand that's flipping the script on what hockey culture looks like. Born from a queer creator in an unconventional hockey market, Double Hockey Sticks celebrates fans from all walks of life who are ready to take up space at the rink.
From their Hockey is Gay line to the Drop Gloves Punch Nazis collection, their gear is bold, loud, and unapologetically inclusive. Double Hockey Sticks is redefining what it means to be a hockey fan, one design at a time.
Be part of the hockey culture shift by visiting doublehockeysticks.com and wear your hockey heart out loud.
Click the link in our show notes to be a part of the movement. Use code SAS15 for 15% off at checkout through the end of the year.
And like we saw last night with the Avalanche, sometimes you get a weird goalie pool. So, Nashville player Forsberg was in a shootout on our goalie, Wedgwood, and he came and he crashed into Wedgwood. And Wedgie went down. And at the time, like I've gone back and looked at it, I don't know that he hit his head on the post, but there was definitely a viewpoint where it looked like Wedgwood might have hit his head on the post.
Mhm.
So therefore, we bring out concussion protocol. Did his head hit the ice? Did his head hit the post?
And they're very serious about this. This is not
Correct.
something they mess around with. Which is kind of why it was so alarming last night that the communication was so delayed, because if there was an alarm that he might have had a concussion, like you want that assessed immediately.
Right.
And that's really the issue. Right.
Yeah. The fact that they waited until he had already taken another penalty, or not, I keep saying penalty shot, another shootout shot.
Right.
I'm like, maybe we should have called this right when he got injured and not after, but
yeah, there was definitely a breakdown in communication, and I'm sure that the NHL is assessing that and very angry about that, as they should be, to be honest.
Right.
Because it's not just it's not just the goals, it's not just, the game, it's this player's the rest of his life.
Right. Well, that's a human, like
Yeah.
it's not just a player on the ice. That's a human who has a wife and kids, and you want to make sure that their health and safety is above and beyond the first priority. Not, are we going to win this game, but is this human okay?
Right.
So I'm not mad that they pulled him.
No.
I'm mad that it happened 2 minutes after the injury and not immediately after it happened.
Right. And at the same time, I heard another argument. I think it was Johnny Michael Lyles, who is he's a former Avalanche player, Olympian, and he's on our broadcasting team on altitude for the Avalanche. He was saying, pulling Wedgwood and putting in Blackwood, is just as much a risk for injury, because Blackwood was, cold for 80 minutes, so
was not expecting to just go out.
Right. Even though it was his birthday. But yeah, it was just a very odd, and everybody was kind of stumped, this has never happened before. What's going on? I want to say a shootout is when you go into overtime, you're tied during regulation, and then you go into overtime, which lasts for 5 minutes. And if you don't score in overtime, you go to a shootout, just in case people don't know that.
Right.
Okay. So that, I think, sums up our segments. We're going to try to do something like that every podcast episode. We're still trying to find our format, our groove, kind of working with it. We're new. Yeah. So, it might change a little bit, but I would like to keep those things. And now we want to give a shout out to one of our paid subscribers. We have decided that we're going to call our fans the Sasquatches, because it goes back to Colorado roots, sass and slap shots, Sasquatch. I don't know. We're weird. It works. So we would like to thank Aaron Meadows for supporting us. You are such a great Sasquatch, and we really appreciate you feeling that we are good enough to give your money to. That is fantastic.
It's a huge support. We appreciate it.
Yeah. As everybody knows, this costs money. Podcasting costs money. Creating content costs money. The games cost money. All of this costs money. And Sarah and I are trying to build up our base so that we're not paying out of pocket for everything, which is fine in the beginning. But eventually we would love to, have enough support to do this full time. And Aaron, you are one of the people that's making that possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, so today we are going to talk about one of my favorite topics, Britta Curl from the Minnesota Frost in the PWHL. And the reason I really wanted to talk about this was because I get questions all the time about why I dislike this person. And we've done a lot of research, and just today, the Atlantic article came out on Britta Curl, and it basically had every single thing that we're going to talk about today, which actually makes me feel really good, because it means we're on par with sports journalism that's happening right now, and the pulse on the trending stories.
What's happening?
So yay for us. So yeah, online, people are always like, the PWHL is so much better. Fuck the NHL, women's sports. And listen, I am all about women's sports. But I also like to take critical looks at both leagues, because both leagues are problematic, whether you like it or not.
And I think we discussed that, or you wrote an article about that. One of our first articles was about the owner of the PWHL and some of the ties that he has. So, not every league, and even across sports, is perfect.
No. I mean, sports is just a reflection of what's going on in current society. And it's our job to call it out, to recognize it, and to try to fix these systemic issues. And I think Britta Curl's continued employment by the PWHL is a really great example of that.
To be honest, this is my first year really delving into the PWHL. I have been an NHL fan for years now, but watching more women's sports, being more aware. So when you brought her up, I had no clue who you were talking about. Because again, like you said, when you had your inaugural, it wasn't player specific. It was more, I'm going to enjoy watching. And so, I haven't even picked the team because I'm still holding out for a Denver team. So to me, it's just watching and enjoying. And then you're like, wait, we need to do a podcast about this. And I was like, about what? Like
About
I was ignorant, and that's on me because I definitely was just like women's hockey. This is
Well,
amazing.
no, like that's why we're doing
Oh,
this podcast, right? Is to just
yeah,
learn more together. And I
yeah.
think this is part of that process is like learning about the bad eggs, really.
It was definitely delving into it. Was definitely like, oh, ooh, okay,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. It was one of those eye-opening moments where you have to kind of step back and be like, okay, yeah, this is something deeper that needs to be looked at and talked about and brought forth, especially for our fans that do so much love the PWHL, which I
Mhm.
know we have so many of them.
In some ways, what's not to love? Like it's a league that is exploding right now. The messaging is very inclusive to all
Mhm.
genders and the LGBT community, but unfortunately, it's not perfect. So, we're going to start talking about Britta Curl because I think she's a great example of how a league can put out messaging and copy and marketing, but behind the scenes keep somebody who is problematic because of their performance on the ice, because they're bringing home Walter Cups in this case. So Britta Curl was drafted in the second round, 9th overall by the Minnesota Frost. She is a forward and she has won the Walter Cup once. She was born in North Dakota in 2000, which makes me want to puke because that feels so weird to me.
So long ago, right?
And apparently she started playing hockey at 3, which is wild. She played for the Bismarck Blizzard, which is a prep hockey team in North Dakota, and she led them to 4 state championships. She also played 5 seasons at the University of Wisconsin. She won 3 national championships, and she was also their captain for 2 seasons, which is very rare for a Badger, apparently. There have been very few players that have been captain for 2
Multiple.
consecutive seasons. She's a 2-time women's world champion with Team USA, and she won the women's gold at the IIHF Under 18 Women's World Championship. And she's in Olympic contention today for the
Yeah, so
Milan
for the
Cortina.
2026.
Right.
Okay.
So there is no arguing that Curl is an incredibly talented hockey player. Her size on the ice and her presence on the ice are noticeable and are very effective. And I've watched her for, I guess, a season and a half now ish. Not even a season and a half, a season and 1 month. And we'll talk about her, I guess, popularity on the ice, her skating style on the ice later, but she is formidable for sure, and I can
Yes.
understand why any coach would want them on the team.
Right.
Unfortunately, off the ice, very suspect. The PWHL, like I said, has a marketing tactic of inclusion of, women's and girls sports, of, being very LGBTQ friendly and positive. There are 36 out players in the PWHL, and to contrast that with the NHL, there are no out players in the NHL. So the marketing, the players, the makeup of them, and the fan base of the NHL and the PWHL are very different. And so this is why Curl's social media activity really ruffled feathers, and understandably.
Rightfully so. Yeah. On her social media, it stirred a lot of controversy because in the weeks leading up to the draft, which would have been her draft, she decided to like and post some things on X that had some COVID-19 conspiracies, attacked inclusive language towards transgender women, and showed support for Kyle Rittenhouse in the wake of George Floyd murder, and just a lot of posting and liking on stuff that seems very opposite of what the PWHL supports.
Right.
So that kind of, like you said, not only ruffled feathers, but brought a lot of people to be like, wait, what? Why?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of started the whole, what are her actual leanings? Where does she actually stand on this?
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of people were very upset, and rightfully so.
Right. And she's made several comments on transgender women in women's sports. She's liked Candace Owens' tweets. She just really unsavory things that are very alarming for the fans of the PWHL who want this league to be a safe space for
Yeah.
people like them. I mean,
Yeah.
I think for the first time, maybe ever, the LGBTQ community is seeing themselves represented on the ice.
Yes.
And so they don't want someone to jeopardize that. And unfortunately, Britta Curl's actions online and her inaction with accountability have really threatened that for fans. And I mean, with 36 queer players, that's also concerning.
And with her teammates.
Right.
Right. And so, something that always sticks in my mind is if you're a professional in sports, you are not playing for one group of people.
No.
You are playing for everybody.
Mhm.
You don't get to say, I'm only playing for this group of people. You are playing for everybody. Everybody watches sports. Everybody buys tickets. Everybody buys merch. Everybody.
Mhm.
So you have to keep that in mind when you are a professional athlete, that like you have to play for everybody.
Mhm.
This isn't, you don't get to nitpick,
Right.
So
Mhm.
to me, sports and being a professional sports athlete means you have to be open to that and
Mhm.
be open to playing for everybody.
Right.
You don't get to just nitpick who you want to play for. So it definitely ruffled my feathers when you brought it to my attention, because I was like, even the stuff you post and the stuff you say, this is why they have PR training. This is why they do this stuff,
Right.
because you know.
Right, exactly. And she released an apology video. I think it was the day after the draft. When she was drafted, there were audible boos. Every time she plays, there are audible boos. During interviews, the booing can be so loud that you actually hear it on television. So and it's gone cross season. It has transferred to this season as well.
Still have
So
yeah.
people aren't buying what she's selling as far as her apology video that she put out. And she's been very quiet up until literally today. But recently, Britta attended a bar of their own event, which is an inclusive, family-friendly restaurant in the Midwest. And it's the first sports bar to show women's sports exclusively. So it is very queer, very LGBTQ friendly. And it was pretty interesting seeing her at that event. I think that people can absolutely learn and grow from their mistakes for sure. I am not the same person that I was in my early 20s. I think we've talked about it a bit, but I was married to a sheriff's deputy. I was in the South. I was a closeted queer woman. I listened to evangelical people. I grew up in a part of the Bible Belt that holds that holds very conservative, traditional values that when I got out of that and I got to experience the world and I went to college and certain things happened to me, I changed because I had experience and I wasn't an idiot 20-year-old. So yeah, I think that people can change. I think that people change all the time. And even with my own father, I had a queer best friend in high school, and my dad used to be it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve type. And his whole ideology like switched when he met and got to know my best friend in high school. So yes, people can change, and I'm not saying that they can't, but I think it's hard for me to take it seriously when she hears the boos and all, and she knows why that's happening, and she's been extremely quiet. She gave out a lackluster apology video, and then she later said, personally, I'd rather play in a full crowd that's booing me than an empty one. That type of passion is really cool to see. And it's not the passion that is why we're booing.
Right.
That's just
Yeah,
so it just brings it back to her.
Yeah.
And it's just very cocky. And I don't think it shows true remorse for her comments or for the hurt that she caused and it has the possibility of causing by not, growing, which she says she is. She says she has spent the last 19 months, quote unquote, growing.
Well, to me, and this is my opinion, actions, it's a very popular opinion, but actions speak louder than words to me. Like, you can say anything all day long. You can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. But until you show that you are remorseful, and going to one place and doing one event one action doesn't change anything. Show with your actions that you are growing. Show with your actions that you are remorseful. Show with, listening to those around you, and then taking action to do better. But coming out and saying, I like being the villain, that I don't think that really,
Yeah.
I think that's
It doesn't
contradictory what
show
you're saying that
right.
you want to grow.
It doesn't
You
show
know,
remorse. And she
yeah,
said, I've learned so much of this, and I'm seeing it as an opportunity to grow in humility and grow in love. And my goal in this league is the same as it always has been. I want to make a positive impact, be a good leader, a good role model, train hard, play hard, and just give my heart to the people around me, the league, and to the sport. To those of you who may still have reservations, I hope you can extend me the grace to prove to you who I really am. I'm just so grateful to be here, to be a part of this, and thanks for your open minds, your open hearts. I really hope to see you guys next season. That was Curl last season. And she got a 2-year extension, which was again met with heavy criticism because Coach Ken Klee, who's a former Av, just saying, said, we did our homework on her. She's obviously a great player. We talked to coaches who said that she's a great kid, a great competitor, great in the locker room. I talked to her teammates on USA and other areas. They said she's a great teammate, coach. You'd love to have her. I just find all of this, if she wasn't a great hockey player, she'd be out in 2 seconds.
Yeah. And that's where we have work to do.
Right.
And again, like you said, people change. I know that can happen because I've had a similar experience to yours. So, her saying, great, give me grace. I'm learning, you're like, okay, again, actions, show us you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have so much work to do because that's not enough. Just saying that, just coming out and giving words, fine. I understand you're asking for grace, but show me why I should give you grace.
Mm-hmm.
Show the community why we should give you grace. Don't just say, give me grace. Show me why we should. You heard us, show us how you're growing. So, try and be like, okay, let's give grace, but still hold back a little bit because you're like, but I'm not seeing that you're changing. I'm not seeing that you're wanting that grace. So,
Yeah, I completely agree. It's not just talk, it's action. And I'm glad that she's apparently having talks with the LGBT community. I'm glad that she's becoming more understanding and empathetic to the lived experience of trans people and members of that community. But I definitely want to see action from her. But I think it also sheds light on the fact that the PWHL still doesn't have a gender inclusion policy, which is wild given the makeup of their players.
Yeah.
They also need to update their rule book as well because Coach Ken Klee might have done his homework on her, but she is a really dangerous player on the ice. So like my issues with Curl are not only because of her online activity, because of the values that she holds, and because I am personally a queer person. It's because she's a danger to herself and other players on the ice.
Last season, she was suspended 3 times for illegal head contact, 1 with a high stick, 2 through hits, each receiving a 1-game suspension. So dangerous stuff.
Yeah. And I think, there can be grace given to the PWHL because it is a new league. Someone that dangerous on the ice should be, I don't know. I wouldn't have put her back on my team after that. And there's been criticism for her because of just the way that she plays. She is an insane player. Again, she's going to be an Olympian more than likely, and a very physical player. And she's not even defense; she's a forward, which is funny.
That's really
It's crazy. Illegal checks to the head, as defined in Rule 48 of the PWHL rulebook, and high sticking are not included in either category. It's a gap in the PWHL's rulebook related to head contact and possible long-term brain injuries that leaves players open to risk. So, we're here talking about Wedgie getting, people up in arms about the delay of communication to pull Wedgie off the ice in case he has a concussion. And here we have Britta Curl just slamming people into boards,
Throwing their stick in their heads, yeah.
Right. So it's not only that Curl is, I just think, bad for the league optically, it's physically on the ice. She could really, really hurt somebody. And she has really hurt somebody. I mean, that's why she was suspended. So,
right.
Yeah, I think, when people say the PWHL is so much better than the NHL, it's like, maybe, perhaps, but don't shame people for liking the NHL. Don't shame people for liking the PWHL. They each have their pros. They each have their cons. They're each problematic because it's an organization created by humans who are inherently
Filled with humans.
problematic.
Yeah. Right. Nothing is going to be inherently perfect.
No. And really,
it's just part of it.
right. And playing like the purity politics in sports, like this is still something that's meant to be enjoyable, you know?
Yes. That's one of the things that really frustrates me going online sometimes is it's everyone mad at each other for the smallest things. And I'm like, can't we just enjoy? Can't we just enjoy for a minute? I just kind of want to watch a hockey game. And, I know you can't do that all the time. Like you've got to face the problems and you have to talk about the problems, but sometimes we also just want to enjoy the game. I think there's a fine line between doing both. And that's something we're trying to do, you know, enjoy the game, talk about the game, but also be like, okay, be aware that this is happening, be aware that this is part of it, and we're going to enjoy the game, talk to you about the game. We're also going to bring forth, hey, this is also happening. If you don't, if that for your mental health, you need to just not, then don't. But,
yeah, I think it's possible to simultaneously love the NHL and hate that Carter Hart and the Canada Five are coming back. It's 100% okay to love the PWHL and understand that the person funding the PWHL also helps fund ICE. It's nuanced, and these things need to be talked about, but I don't think you should stop watching hockey or stop enjoying the game and enjoying the silly dumb things that these players do, or
throwing of rats and
the holiday pictures that the Avalanche
oh my gosh
put out every year that are the retro awkward family photos. Like, there are
Brent Burns has became my favorite in those, by the way.
Oh my God, he's so funny. There are always going to be positives and negatives to everything that you do or anything that you're into in life, and hockey is no different. So
no different.
Yeah. So that's Britta Curl. People have asked me, why do you not like Britta Curl so much? And well, there you go. That's the reason.
Well, and I was actually watching the last game they played, and even the announcers were like, oh, they're going after Curl. And I was just like, again, this was before you had brought forth issues. And I was just like, they don't like her. And like, I had no clue why, but like, you could tell the players were like, just not happy. And I was just like, did she do something? And this was during the game. I don't know that it had any further reaching issues other than I think she hit someone during the game and they had, the players were mad about it. It's just one of those things where I was unaware. And now it's like, oh, now I kind of can see, the point of view of people who are upset.
So that's Britta Curl. Like I said, I think that people can change. I do think people can change, but I also think that people can be putting on a mask to, maintain their position in the highest women's hockey league in the country. So, I do think
show us.
Yeah. I do think that it's my personal opinion that she hasn't changed. I think that she still holds all of those values to her heart. I think you don't like things like that, post things like that, and have those opinions on transgender athletes like that unless you really mean them. And that's my personal opinion. So I will be happy when she leaves the PWHL. And, I am not happy that she is going to be on the Olympic team.
Yeah. And again, actions speak louder than words. So if you want the community to give you grace, show us why we should.
Boom. Mic drop.
And that's it. Show us why we should. Yeah. And that goes for any player. Like, show us with your actions that you deserve our support and our money and our attention, and show us that you're,
you're worthy of being there.
Yeah, we spend a lot of money and we buy jerseys and we buy tickets and all of that. So, don't give us words, give us actions.
All right. And on that note, that was Sass and Slapshots on Britta Curl. Please support us by subscribing to this podcast, subscribing to our Substack, following us on all the socials, and doing all the things. We talk hockey all day long, all day night, 24/7, 365. So we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Stats and Slapshots. If you're craving more hockey content from us before next week's drop, have no fear. We're two chronically online hockey nerds.
Check out our Substack, social media channels, and support links below. If you're interested in sponsorship or collaboration, feel free to reach out at sassandslapshots.com.
Special shout out to our editor, Joe Bogomil, and our graphic designer, Corey Tyler.
We appreciate all of the support and can't wait to chat with you next week. Bye.
Bye!